All right, I think we're loaded. Let me make sure I mute that. All right, everybody in seventh period. I did not expect to be broadcasting to you virtually, but stuff happens and I'm really not feeling well. And so I am headed home. So here's the point of this video. You might be watching it as a whole class, or you might be watching it individually, but make sure this is working. It is. Okay. You might be watching this as a whole class. You might be watching it individually, but this video is twofold. First part is I want to go over this assignment. Just clear anything up. Take about 5 to 10 minutes to do that. I want to make sure you have a good grasp on the expected value formula, and then also how to find variance and standard deviation on Excel. And then I want to introduce to you our project, our group project. And you're going to actually start working in your groups for the rest of class. You'll work on this today in class. You'll work on this tomorrow. We will finalize Monday and then do our small presentations on Tuesday. This is a smaller end project. I'll explain it to you in a bit, and then I will also show you 2 projects from last year. I won't tell you what grade they made on it. They made either an A, B, C, or a D. I'll tell you that. But you can at least get a picture. It might help you kind of see what I'm looking for. All right, so first let's talk about expected value and standard deviation. If I was there, I would have done this on a note card. I would have made you write this down. You can try to do this in your head right now. But I'm wondering if you could write down the formula for expected value. I'm wondering if you could come up with the formula for expected value right there. It was funny because in second period, students were saying, or fifth period, students were saying, yeah, it's the sum of the third column that we use on Excel. And that's actually great. I love that they said that, because we set up that probability model in Excel. I'm talking about this one. We set up this probability model, Mr. Regan and I, to kind of walk you through the process. And look what that third column is. The third column is X times the probability that occurs. Okay. And the expected value is the sum of all of these. Well, let's write that in a specific statistical formula here. Sigma is the symbol for the sum of, and the third column was X times the probability of X. So there is your expected value formula right there. Okay. Then I asked the students, what is the formula for variance? And they told me, well, it's the sum of the 6th column. And I love that they said that, because we go to Excel and we look and it's like, hey, variance are these columns 4, 5, and 6, and the variance is the sum of that column. Well, I don't want you just to be robots going through like crunching numbers on Excel. I want you to recognize what you're finding here. Okay. Once you find the expected value, that is often that's the average. It's the mean of your variable, your random variable. So the variance is what you do is you take each actual value and you subtract it from the mean. Then you square those numbers. Then you multiply those numbers by the probability that they occur. So when we say that the variance is the sum of this 6th column, what we are saying is that the variance is the sum of your values minus the mean squared times the probability that they occur. That is the formula for variance. And you're doing that on Excel, but I want you to know both what you're doing and how to recognize that notation. Okay. And then the last formula is the simplest of them all. That's the standard deviation of your random variable. And that is just the square root of your variance. And remember back in the fall when we were talking about shape of data and we were looking at measures of center and spread. The mean was a measure of center. Standard deviation was a measure of spread. And remember, we talked about normal models and how the mean is in the center of your normal model. And then remember, we talked about the empirical rule that shows us the breakdown of one standard deviation above average, one standard deviation below average. And we're going to actually pick up and make some connections with that next week. But as far as for this project, all you need to know is how to calculate the expected value of a variable and the variance and standard deviation. And the key is getting these first two columns right. If you can't get your random variable values correct, and if you can't find the probabilities for those, which is why last unit was our probability unit, then you'll be in rough shape. So let's do one of these problems. I mean, we did a couple already in class. I think fourth period, or seventh, y'all were a little ahead. So I don't think we need to do these again. But what I do need is when I go here to the expected value and standard deviation practice quiz, there's still quite a few of us who haven't submitted it yet. This is let's load this up. This is the practice quiz. Because I think some of you might just realize that you haven't submitted it, but you're done. Number 1 was about the 100 tickets at the raffle. Number 2 was if you roll doubles, you win cash equal to the total shown on the dice. Number 3, you're still rolling dice. Number 4, you start drawing cards out of a deck. And I think we did that one together. And then these, you just can answer them on the Excel doc. Which of these games is most friendly to the person running it? That's important.
Would Caroline Blom please come to student services?
That's important because, and which game is friendly to the one playing it is because when you're in your groups making your game, you're in charge of setting these payouts. You're in charge of setting up the probabilities, how you want the game to work. Are they rolling a dice and drawing a card? Are they spinning a spinner? But anyways, you need to know if your game is going to make you money or make those playing your game money. It's kind of like you think all these games in Las Vegas, do you think their expected value is positive where players make money, or do you think it's negative where the house makes money? They have mathematicians working on staff to make sure that they are always making money. That's why they've got the nicest hotels and they own all of the stadiums. Okay, so that's the first part of this video, is me just refreshing your memory on how to build a probability model, how to take your time finding your payouts or your values, and then setting the probabilities. Okay, and so you can spend some time today working on that. But what I'd like you to do most is begin working in your groups, because you can do that by yourself, but you can't work with your groups outside of school. So the group project is called the WA Fundraiser Project. You can find it on campus. I'd go ahead and pull it up. I'm going to give you a 5-minute breakdown of what the project is and then show you 2 projects from last year. Okay, so the WA Fundraiser Project. It says see attached. Don't worry about the grading rubric. I'm going to have to tweak that. Click on this prompt from last year, the WA Fundraiser prompt, and it will take you. We have one open. I don't. Well, we'll open it again. Oh yeah, duh, it's right here. All right. So you are trying to design the perfect fundraiser using probability models. Design a fundraiser. Your fundraiser can have a cover charge up to $10. That just means that everybody who wants to even play any of your games has to pay you $10 at the front door. You could also set a $5 cover charge. That adds an extra layer of thought process for you behind the scenes to try to make the most money. Your job is to set everything up, the cover, the types of games that will be played, the cost to play each game, the payouts, and the odds for winning and losing. That'll all be behind the scenes that you'll do first with your groups. And then ultimately, we will determine how many people show up depending on how everybody rates your event. If your game seems exciting, fun, kind of complex or intriguing, like, ooh, I think I can win money off of that game, your classmates will rate your game on a few different categories: creativity, engagement, intrigue, etc. The higher the rating that you get, the more people will attend your event. I'll just tell you how many people showed up. If you got the highest rated event in the class, maybe 500 students show up. Okay. If you got the lowest rated event, maybe only 100 students showed up. And then after we determine your attendance, you will actually be able to calculate how much money you made. The best event will be the one that raises the most money. Okay. So here's how you set it up. And by the way, I put a little caveat here. You can't make up a game where, hey, come pay $5,000. And if the dice lands on an even number, you win a teddy bear. It's like, nobody's going to play that game. These have to be realistic. Okay. So here's what you do with your groups, and I'll give you the groups in just a second. To set up the fundraiser, you need to determine a theme: Hawaiian, Western. You can be very creative with this. Come up with a theme for your project. Next, you have to create games that will occur at the fundraiser, one per person in your group. So if you have a group of 4, there should be 4 games, and each person should take ownership of a specific game. If you only have 3 people in your group, then you should only have 3 games. Your game will have a name. What's the name of your game? How do you play it? There will be a cost. How much does it cost to play your game? 50 cents, $10? You will build a probability model that shows the outcomes, the probabilities, the expected value, and the standard deviation. You design your game, you build the model for it so that you can calculate your expected value and standard deviation. And then lastly, the expected profit per person. That just takes into account maybe a cover charge or how much each game costs, etc. Okay. Then you will create a presentation that contains all the information, but put your probability models at the end. Like, don't include those in your main presentation. That's just for me to see. Okay. And you're going to try to get people to be interested in your fundraiser. Let me show you 2 from last year. Again, I'm not going to tell you what they got. This group had Aloha Hawaii. Okay. Can't remember exactly how they explained it, but their first game was called Pick the Pineapple. There are 100 pineapples. Each colored ball has a different price reward: 50, 20, 15, 10, and 5. And then you pick one ball. It costs $10 to play. And I believe, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, you have 75 $5 prizes. There are 11 $10 prizes, 7 $15 prizes, 5 $20 prizes, and 2 $50 prizes. Come on over and get yourself a pina colada. Okay, they would have been able to explain it a little bit better, but you get the idea. This is kind of like a random draw here, it seems like, where they set the odds. Their next game is a surf and turf. There are 100 surfboards. You get 1 shot to pick your favorite. This is also kind of a selection game. So I will be honest, these were pretty basic. Just kind of choosing something out of a random drawing. I'm hoping that you can layer yours a bit better to where your probability models are intriguing and complex. I do like their last game, the Hawaiian Suit and Shaka. It costs $4 to play. The goal of this game is to draw 2 cards of the same suit. And if both numbers drawn are between a 2 and an 8, you win $5. If both numbers drawn are 9 or higher, you win $10. And if you draw both of the black aces, regardless of suit, you win $100. I just texted Mr. Royce asking him if he could cover today, and he said, sure. Who is this? Mr. Royce, the fact that you don't have my phone number, this is a sad day. This is a sad, sad day. So that's that game. That's one group. So you get a little bit of an idea. Here was a second group. This game was called Alien Abduction. And before this person started,
your home internet is going ultra.
Let's let this ad play through. But right as he walked up, he had this epic music being played. I'll turn this down so that hopefully you can hear me over it, but I'll talk a little louder just in case. He said this game was called Alien Abduction. The first game is called the Alien Queen. It's a card game. It costs $10 to play. If you draw an ace, you double your money. If you draw a red king, you win $50. And if you draw the Queen of Spades, the Alien Queen, you win $250. Do you want to play the Alien Queen? Next game, Black Hole Breakout, as the music intensifies. It's a card and dice game, a little combo. Combos can serve you well. $10 to play. If you draw an 8, you win $25. If you roll an 8, you win $75. And if you draw and roll an 8, you win $1,000. Black Hole Breakouts. Okay, you get the idea. I might be biased, but the second one was better, right? Have more of a theme, a better theme, some imagery. Well, the Hawaii theme's not bad, actually, but it was more, the theme is okay. That's kind of like the icing on the top. But everybody knows a good cake is made from the inside out. You need to have some solid gamesmanship. Like this one, it's simple, but it still has a couple things going on. He was intentional in how he set his probabilities up. So when you are creating your event, when you are creating your model and coming up with your games, don't just go with the first thing you think of. Take your time with your groups. Think of how you could use things in the world that have set probabilities. Here's my warning. Every year, a group tries to do something like the carnival game where there's a bunch of balloons on the wall and you throw a dart at the balloon. That's starting to get into the realm of skill-based games, even though a lot of it is luck. We need to stick with games that have very set probabilities. Dice, cards, spinners, drawing something out of a hat, drawing a marble out of a bag, flipping a coin. Like there are countless things you can Google. Spinning a roulette wheel. You can Google things with set probabilities, and you can create your own. Create your own things. Like I think of dominoes. You could create your own style of game that has probabilities that are intriguing, interesting, and can work in your favor once you determine your payouts. Okay. So, and here's just event name, cover charge, game one description. Like you'll have all of this in behind the scenes. Your presentation will only present your game to us. Okay. So for the rest of class today, you will need to get with your groups. Let me set up the groups real quick. Okay. Here we go. Just kind of doing this on the fly. I did not expect to be absent today, as you can tell. So it's all good. First group number one. It's like you're watching the NFL draft. Group number one. You know what? If Mr. Royce is covering today, I'm making this decision. Mr. Royce is a master teacher. He's been doing this a long time. I'll let you all pick your groups. And then Mr. Royce can, if you would, Neil, just write their names down on a sheet of paper. Or I have a TA, Paul Caruso. Have Paul Caruso help facilitate the groupings, let everybody get in their own groups. Paul, if you can send me an on-campus message with like group number one and all of their names, group number two, all of their names. Let's just roll that way. Looks like Matthew Johnson is absent, and so is Riley, and so is Adam Torona. Make sure they all have a group. So make sure they're accounted for. Paul, I'm putting this on you. Make sure they have a group. And as long as the groups are either 2, 3, or 4, Can't have a group of 5. That's too much. So groups of 2, 3, or 4. You cannot work solo. I will let y'all pick your groups because it's a smaller project, and Paul can help facilitate that. Okay. So I'm about to sign out because this video is going too long. You would start with maybe refreshing this with your groups if you'd like, because you have plenty of time. Like maybe go over one of those together as a group. Make sure you understand how to set it up. But then dive right in to coming up with your theme and starting to create your games. And that will also give you a chance to practice these skills. Sorry, I'm not there. You'll again work on this tomorrow. I'll be back Monday, I hope, to connect with you. And we'll go from there. I love this project. It makes me laugh, but it's also really fun because you get to try to finagle the numbers to where the players of your game think they're getting the best of you when really you're getting the best of them. So don't just go with your first idea. Tinker with some payouts, some prices, some cover charges, etc., and see how you can maximize your fundage. All right. Have a great class.